So she's going to have to try to sabotage you guys so she can stay in power, continue doing what she wants to do for her investors and everything else, because the oil companies don't want you guys to take over. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. So Danielle Smith and UCP of Alberta have been in the news recently for multiple different reasons. One, of course, they came to an agreement with Mark Carney, the Liberals, on a new oil pipeline to the west. Now, they don't know how they're going to get it there, but they've come to an agreement with a fixed carbon tax, carbon capture for anything that gets pulled out and everything else. But they've come to an agreement that say, yes, we're going to work together and we're going to do this. Now, of course, it's still contingent on BC, the indigenous tribes, depending on the path they want to take. So, but they believe it's a win, the UCP. We're going to talk more about that in another video. But what I want to talk about more is the other news, the Separatists, how Danielle Smith and the Separatists are not impressed and very upset with the judge striking down their petition for a referendum on asking the question, should Alberta remain a province in Canada and separate? And then a question that has been popping up recently is Danielle Smith a separatist? She's not even close. Okay. Now, for those separatists, you're not going to like the reason why I know she's not a separatist. Okay. So let's go over it. So the judge struck it down, basically stating that they should have been talking with the indigenous communities of Alberta, because it's infringing on their constitutional rights. Because if it goes through and there's a yes, they're no longer to fish, hunt, do their treaty or do their ceremonies, and everything else, and so on and so forth. So they have to talk to them before they do this question. Now, both Danielle Smith and the Separatists are technically right. This was not a good ruling on the behest of the judge. Now, the judge is technically right because the way they stated was it will infringe on their rights. Because if they believe, like the Separatists believe, that all of Alberta or most of Alberta want to separate, it will infringe on their rights. However, they should be able to put that question, as long as they've met the requirements, to put forth that question, that referendum. Because at the end of the day, they're not infringing any rights just by asking the question. They're right. They're right about that. I like, even though I hate them, I despise them, they're nothing but traitors, they are right. You're not infringing on anybody's rights. Now, if they got the referendum and they were correct, and majority of Albertans want to separate, and they got more than 50% of a yes, and they continued down that path to separate without talking to the indigenous community, yes, they're infringing on their rights, 100%. But at this point, up until they move to the next step, they're not infringing on the rights. Back to the question is Danielle Smith a separatist by allowing this to happen? No. The only reason why I'm saying that is because she's not on your side, guys. She's only used you as a pawn or a negotiating tool to get a deal with Mark Carney and the Liberals to get a pipeline to the west. Now that she has that, even though she's still a long ways away, but she still had that initial hurdle by the federal government to get that line to go to the west, she has no reason to use you guys anymore. Okay? She's like, Mark Carney in his mind is, I've done what Alberta has asked for. Now it's up to them to convince British Columbia, because I'm not going to force British Columbia. Because at the end of the day, that would be hypocritical of Alberta for Mark Carney to force British Columbia. Because you guys didn't like when the federal government was forcing you guys to do things you didn't want to do. So it would be hypocritical for you now to ask the Liberals, the federal Liberals, to force BC to do what they didn't want to do or not want to do. So now it's in your court to convince BC. So Danielle Smith wanted that deal, and she only used you guys as a bargaining chip. So that, you want us to stay, you want stability to show the rest of the world, you guys, everybody can come and invest with us. If you truly want that, Mark Carney, you need to allow us to do what we need to do, what's best for Alberta. Now that she has that, she doesn't need you guys anymore. The next thing is how will she play this? Because she's created a monster. Think about it this way. If she doesn't fight with you guys, she says she's going to the provincial government's gonna, is gonna fight that decision from the judge. They're going to say it's unconstitutional, everything else, whatever the argument is, okay? She might throw a few dollars, whatever, towards the lawyers, and they may fight, they may not fight, whatever, but say, guys, I tried to help you, it didn't work out, but let's move forward because we're going to be able to do what we want and so on and so forth. But you separatists don't care. You're done. You want to leave. You weren't looking to using this as a negotiating tool to leave. You want to go. And I don't think she understood that. So she's created a monster. So now she has to deal with an unhinged group of her party. It's not NDP, and it's not Liberal Party, and it's not Independent Party. It's a UCP portion of your party that want to separate. So she's going to have to somehow manipulate you guys, or she's going to face the consequences. By that I mean is now you guys are talking about taking over the party, creating your own party, fringe right, whatever you want to talk about, okay? Where it's now going to split the votes. So she's going to have to try to sabotage you guys so she can stay in power, continue doing what she wants to do for her investors and everything else, because the oil companies don't want you guys to take over. They don't want instability within the province of Alberta because it hurts their bottom line. So she's not a separatist. She used you guys. So that's one of the reasons why there are people out there that are saying, what's the future for Danielle Smith and UCP? Because they see the monster that they've created. No different than what Trump did for the Epstein files. Talked about how there's pedophiles in the government. He's the only one who can save them. He's going to release the files, prosecute everybody that's in the files, and so on and so forth. All his lackeys, influencers, and everything else kept repeating the same message over and over again. And they created a monster, which was a good monster in my mind, that those Epstein files should be released. But it wasn't good for them and their control because, of course, Donald Trump's a part of that Epstein files. So now he has to deal with that. And that's why he's, hasn't released it, says it's a Democratic hoax and everything else. This is what's going to happen with Danielle Smith, where she's going to start going against you guys, the separatists. Going to try to explain why it's beneficial to stay with Canada. And this is why the votes for the UCP is going to get split in the next election. And I'm here for it. She was never on your sides, never cared to hear your plights. She just used you for her political gain. And I personally don't think it was the best deal in the world that she got. Yes, she's got the support of the federal government, but you still got to go and get the support of the BC. Never going to happen. And even if she's able to convince the BC government, the Indigenous groups, never going to happen. And not only that, by the time if everything falls in place and they're able to get a pipeline, what's going on with Iran, Strait of Hormuz, everybody, running out of oil, they're done. They're tired. Natural gas, whatever it is, they're moving on to EVs. And you guys have squandered an opportunity to use the resources that you're able to sell now, the money you're able to generate from those resources to diversify your economy. So you're no longer eventually, well, not no longer. Let me rephrase this. eventually you're going to be able to get the equalization from the federal government because you guys won't be producing a lot of money. You won't be making a lot of money. So, you always talked about how you wanted your fair share. Well, eventually you're going to get some because you're going to be a poor province because you put all your eggs in one basket. And that's a shame. So I'm going to reiterate, Danielle Smith is not a separatist, but she played you guys. So played you, and you deserve to be played because you guys are traitors. Not because you want to separate from Canada, because you went and to work with the U.S., a country that's actively hurting all of Canada right now. So that's why you guys are traitors. But I'm here for the UCP party to be destroyed within. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. What you feel if Danielle Smith is a true separatist or not, or if you agree with me and my points. Anyways, guys, take care. We'll talk later.